Moving to New York City is such a big decision, and you might be going back and forth trying to figure out if you should actually pull the trigger and make the move. So how do you know if moving to New York City is actually the right decision for you? I know that this is something that people struggle with so much. They go back and forth trying to figure it out, basically waiting for a sign to tell them that they should move to New York City or not. Maybe this video is your sign. The first sign that you should move to New York City is if all you do is think about New York City. It consumes your mind. If you are constantly online looking up things about New York City, watching videos like this about New York City, talking about New York City, then this is going to be, I would say, almost all the sign that you need to finally make the move to New York City. Depending on where you're coming from in the country, in the world, New York City might be a huge move for you. But if you can't get New York City off of your mind, then it might be time for you to make the move here. The next sign is if you're a career-orientated person. I do not care what career path you work in. I think that there are opportunities for literally everybody here. Even if you want to start over or go down a new career path, you have those opportunities here. So if you're the type of person who wants to have this dream career, then New York City is going to be the place to be for that. And also, this piece of advice isn't even for people who are young, just starting off their career. It's literally for anybody. If you always had a dream of working in New York City, there are still going to be opportunities for you at all different ages. I want you to keep that in mind as well. The third sign is if you have spent time in New York City and you absolutely love it. It doesn't always mean that just because you love visiting New York City that you should live here. But if you have visited New York City, and then you kind of pair that with my first sign, which is that you can't stop thinking about New York City, then maybe moving to New York City is a right move for you. Also, when you move to New York City, you don't have to live in New York City for life. You can spend a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years in New York City and then go back to another place or move to another place. You're not going to get locked into New York City. Sometimes some people are only meant to live here for a short amount of time. You might have that desire to live in New York City for a little bit, and you can do that. It's completely okay. So if you have visited New York City and you find yourself thinking nonstop about the city ever since you visited it, you might want to take another trip to New York City and potentially look for a new apartment here. I hear about people moving to New York City all the time because that's exactly what happened to them. They visited New York City a few times or even just once and just fell in love with the city and felt like they had to live here. Honestly, you could say that happened to me. I used to come into New York City from Connecticut all the time as a kid. And I was visiting New York City from a place very close by, but I was falling in love with the city, just visiting, coming in for the weekend as a kid. I know what it feels like to visit here temporarily and feel like you have to live here. Another sign is if you hate your day job and feel like there's absolutely more to life. You might be watching this video and know exactly what feeling I'm talking about. You have a 9 to 5-ish job and you sit in your office and wonder to yourself, why am I even doing this? And why does this even matter? And there has to be more to life than this. I know how it feels because I've been there. I've done that before. It's honestly a horrible place to be in. This sign specifically is one of the things that inspired my move to New York City, because you might be working in a small town or in another city and feel like your life is meant for more and you want to achieve more than what you're doing right now. I don't want you to feel alone, because there are so many people in this world who feel just like you. And this is what sparks the move to New York City for so many people, because they might be working in one of these jobs somewhere else in the world and they feel like there is more to their life and more to their career, and they just rip the Band-Aid off and move to New York City because of that. I have seen a lot of people move to New York City without having that job lined up, which I do recommend avoiding if you can, because it's going to be a lot easier to live here if you already have a job opportunity lined up before you get here. And I will also have other videos on that covering exactly how to do that. That's something that I want you to keep in mind, is that you're not alone. Other people feel like you, and that's what sparks the move for so many people when they're coming to New York City. And the fifth sign you should move to New York City is that you're not a small hometown person. And you might be watching this video and know exactly what I'm talking about. You may be from a small town in the United States or in the world, and you just think that there's more to life than the small town, and people are just closed-minded in the small town, and people know way too much about your business. I myself am from a small town in Connecticut. Very small town, and I could agree with every single one of these things. People know way too much about your life. You feel like there's more to life than just that small town, and you feel like you're supposed to achieve so much more. Growing up in this small Connecticut town, that is exactly how I felt up until the day I was 18 and left for college. I didn't like being from a small town. It just wasn't me. Now, looking back on it, I do have so much respect for my hometown and for people who like small town life, but it just was not for me whatsoever. And I was what they call a hometown runaway, where I just couldn't wait to get out of my hometown and move to New York City or somewhere else. So many people in every small town in America and small towns across the world feel like this, and it's okay to feel like this. You might feel like an outsider in your small hometown, but I want you to know that in every other hometown in the world, there is someone who feels just like you. If you feel like this and you have that itch and desire and are questioning in your mind if you should move to New York City, then this is probably going to be a great move for you. Why are you hesitating moving to New York City? 2 reasons. You're probably either really scared or money is an issue. New York City is a very expensive place to live. Now, there are ways to find affordable apartments and affordable rooms to rent. I have other videos on that. I definitely encourage you to take a look at those because there are tips, tricks, and hacks where you can potentially move to New York City for a little bit less money. If fear and you're just scared is the issue, then I would say, what is the worst that can happen? This is advice that I give people all the time, actually, as a real estate agent. What is the worst that can happen to you? You despise New York City, you hate it, it's not what you thought it was, and you leave. You go back to your hometown or wherever else you want to go. You are not a failure if you do that. It is okay to do that. I see people do it all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that so many people have it in their mind that if they come back home after moving to New York City, that they failed and they couldn't make it in New York City. People can think what they want, but I'm telling you as a New Yorker that that's completely okay to do, and New York City isn't for everybody. So if fear is holding you back because of that, I want you to basically let that fear go and take a chance and move to New York City. It's okay if you hate it. You can go back home. You can go somewhere else. It's not going to be the end of the world. And everyone is allowed to feel how they want about New York City. There's nothing wrong with that. And people that make you feel like a failure because of that are in the wrong and maybe shouldn't be in your life. So I hope this helps you figure out a sign to move to New York City. Now, I've lived in New York City for quite some time. I love New York City, and I definitely want you to be here. Now, I would love to hear from you guys if there are any signs in your life that helped you move to New York City or are helping you in the moment move to New York City. Because as always, I just love hearing from you guys.